swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
Hey, welcome into the Five-Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We're your hosts tonight in a new combination, Alan and Zach. Zach, yeah, I think this is our first show, like just us.
Yeah, it definitely is. Hey.
But yeah, welcome in. So tonight, we're going to take a look at some players who either maybe weren't kind of a mulligan over last season, or in the words of a character from Seinfeld, no forgiveness for you. But before we get into it, this is the part of the show where wherever you're following us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods, Twitter, make sure to follow us. Give us a shout. You can always slide in the DMs there. And also the Discord, if you're not in there, get in there before your friends do. We got some slow drafts going, which would be nice to help us sort of determine some nice position guys going into the season.
I think I like the term forgiveness and forgive knows.
Forgive nots,
that's what I think.
And I think that was TJ's name for it. But yeah, so we'll start with players to forgive, and this is sort of my inspiration for the episode. My first player is Elias Lindholm. He played, I have in quotes here in my notes, all 82 games, but he only had 47 points, which is kind of rough. For a guy that going into the season, we're like, yeah, he's going to be stapled to Pasta. Like this is going to be great for him. Have a bounce back. Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, new team, new city. They had the coaching change mid-season, but at the end of the day, he signed the contract there. He was a UFA, so this is where he wanted to be. It wasn't like he got traded there against his will. But turned out after the season ended, it came out that he was injured in camp and just never recovered from whatever it was, which it makes a lot of sense. And then to top it off, his offensive zone starts were down. His IPP and power play IPP were down like 10% from a lot of his better seasons. His shots also trended down too, which is weird from his peak at like 21-22 season. But I mean, with a new coach and everything, you got to just think he gets a crack at line one again. And Pasta just put up 106 points last season with pretty much no one around him on a lot of team at the end of the season. You got to think that he's going to get a fresh start. So we should also give him a fresh start. Like I wouldn't view him as like a high point per game guy, but you got to think his floor is like what, 60, 65 points, Zach?
Is it though?
If he's stapled to Pasta,
the more I don't know. So my whole thing is, man, haven't we kind of been waiting for like, okay, how many years are we going to forgive him since the 21-22 season? Because
after
this
is where I would slide him into like, no. After this season, it's like, no, he is perhaps a half a point per game player, which is rough. That's a tough.
I just almost feel like, and I've even been that person where it's like, I keep giving him a pass. So 21-22, he broke out. He was a point per game, had 82 points in 82 games. Fucking awesome. The next year, we all thought, hey, Calgary is going to be kicking ass and taking names. I don't know if you thought that too then, but I sure did. I was like, Calgary is going to be awesome. And then Calgary as a whole was just not. They just weren't awesome anymore.
Because that was the first season after they fired Sutter, right? I feel like we were all hoping like, yeah, they're gonna swing back up. Everyone's gonna bounce back season. This is gonna be great. But they didn't. Oh man, that was terrible.
And then the same thing happened kind of in 23-24. He ended up getting traded to Vancouver, where it just straight up didn't work out. Don't get me wrong. It's not like he had a horrible, set of games with them. He was about half point per game, roughly. And then this year, like, okay, well, he's going to be stable to that top, or this last year, he's going to be stable to that top line. He's going to be the guy that replaces all those people that left, all those pieces. And then it just didn't work out. So I just don't know how many years I and everybody else is just going to keep saying, oh, well, there's all of these other reasons. Now, I understand he might have been playing injured, but man, it seems like everybody in the NHL is playing injured.
Let's say,
Every year you
are you
find
hurt
out,
or are you injured?
yeah, you find out about, all the, this guy was playing with a separated shoulder and, his, one of his nuts was down to his knee, like like all these like crazy things that like people are dealing with. So don't get me wrong, I'll give him that he was playing injured, and I understand that. But man, it just, how many times are we going to give him a pass for having a downright kind of crappy year? On top of the fact that he's just always seems like he's a minus player on the plus minus. I know that that's not something that we're really worried about in fantasy, but you know what? That's something they're worried about in real fucking hockey.
Yeah. No, and I'm not saying we take him like super high in the draft, but this is a guy I would take a huge swing on late in the draft, hoping that, yeah, people value him as a 45-point guy, but he could be 60, 65 if he sticks with Postel season. But after the season, I'm like, nah, I'm all right.
The one plus I will say is all these guys that we're going to talk about today, I think you are going to be able to get at a good discount if you are still interested in.
Oh, yeah. And I would say, speaking of, we should do your first guy here, because this is where I would strongly disagree with you on this one.
Oh, are you talking about Petey?
I am.
Well, you know what? Raj isn't here, so I feel like someone has to speak for Raj and Vancouver Nation. So I put Elias Pettersson here. We're not that far removed from an 89-point campaign and a 102-point campaign. This past year, he had his lowest shooting percentage of his career at 13.8%. But in all honesty, he just didn't take as many shots as he usually does. I think that plays a big part in it. And we were just talking about getting a guy on a discount. I think, don't get me wrong, I think he got overdrafted last year, understandably, and I wouldn't have been down to draft him where I feel like most people did, but he's going to get, he's going to be in a really good position to kind of get some value for where he is. But I think he needs to shoot. I think that's going to be his that's his milieu, if you will, So that man's got to shoot. And, you're going to get him at a discount, and it'll be a much better ADP this year than last year.
Oh, no. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I would absolutely not take him where I took him last year, which was like mid-second round. I should have gotten Marner instead of PD. But I agree. Like, he will drop like a rock, but there's no way I get him a second round value. Like, if he fell to me at like late 4th round, 5th round, I would draft him at that point for the bounce back. But yeah, he's a guy that I just nope. This is where I'm not going to get fooled again.
Don't you feel like it was okay? So obviously you don't.
No, but I agree. Their bounce back potential is there.
It was a team-wide pandemic.
Oh yeah,
it's not like just he did bad and everybody else was kicking tits. Like,
and it was interesting. I thought like, oh man, yeah, JT Miller's gone. The bad man can't hurt him anymore, and he still wasn't all that great. I don't know. That's why I'm still just like, all right, I will stay away and let someone else fall on that, and I'll pick someone else at that point.
Somebody else can fall on the grenade.
Yeah. And someone else. And I guess I'll double down, and I just think Boston as a whole going to be better than what we think, or compared to last year. But next up, I'm going Swayman. He went 12, like last pick of the 12th round in like that first 5-hole mock. I don't think that's like, I think that's a great value, but I don't think that's like pegged value for him. I think that lack of training camp really hurt him. I understand you want to get paid, fine, whatever, but it really affected his play the whole season. But his goals saved above average was at minus 12.5. which is way down from 17.65 and 15.39 the seasons before. And yeah, you could say like having the tandem there with Allmark really helped him a lot. But yeah, he let in almost double the goals at 120 at 5-on-5 over last season at 72. And he just faced 33%, about 33% more shots at 5-on-5. Yeah, like almost 1,300 versus like almost 980 the season before. So I think just the environment in front of him wasn't too great either. But hopefully the return of, you get Lindholm back, McAvoy, much better defensive environment. He gets a full training camp. I think he'll be better. And then you have Korpisalo as a backup. I don't know if it's a sustainable backup, but I think that the environment in front of him will be better. And that'll rising tide lifts all boats. I feel like, yeah, Boston as a whole could be better than we think they're going to be.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think that. Maybe it's just my Philly coming, my Philly is showing. But I can't get behind. I think that the Bruins are going to be better. I mean, they might be better than they were last year because they were just freaking awful. But I don't see it for them. However, I have always been a proponent of Jeremy Swayman. So I do think that he can have a bounce back because, you look at all of his stats from every other year, and it's not like their defense was so much better in years prior, but he was just particularly better. This is his first year being sub 900 for a save percentage. I think that he will have a bounce back. I'll give you that one. I will.
We're all right.
Or
and
at
then
least I hope, because I do like him. I really do.
Right. No, that's a guy like, yeah, if he's available at that last pick at the 12th round as like a fading goalies option. Yeah, sure. Like I'll take a chance on Swayman.
He was one of those guys in years past where, so people that know me know that I'm a big proponent for goalies, and, especially I'm a big fan of daily goalie ads. Man, I love to add a goalie and get some points out of it and get some points out of a win. And Swayman was one of those guys in years past where you could just pick him up because he was just out there on the waiver wire because people just didn't believe in him for some reason.
Well, and I think it was, again, he was split 50-50 exactly with Allmark. So, yeah, for a spot start, he'd be great. But it's a hold for a guy that, on a 3-game week might get you one start if it's the bad week. I get it why he was always available.
That's why before I do that, I'm always big on, I look at who's starting. If somebody gets, it comes out where they're starting that day, yeah, chances are I might go pick them up.
And then probably the last one before we head into the people we're not going to forgive. I'll give you Jack Hughes, Zach, if you want to talk about that some.
Well, see, I feel like this is we have mixed views on this one.
We do, and this is why it's the
anyone
perfect
that listens to 5 Hole knows that I am a Jack Hughes lover. I can't help it. Uncle Zach, he forgives you, dude. So this is my whole thing, and I understand your argument, and I'll let you get to it. But Alan, he is still a point per game plus player. Still point per game. Okay. It's not like he had some sort of, a lot of these guys we're talking about, Elias Lindholm scored 47 points. Not Jack Hughes. He's still point per game. And he's going to get every opportunity to succeed. He is their premier player in New Jersey. Don't get me wrong. I do wish that there was more around him. And I wish that the people that they would trade, like another player that we're going to be talking about here, who they had traded for in years past, who, I thought was going to come to New Jersey and tear it up like he had been in San Jose for years. But in all honesty, Jack Hughes is the fucking man in Jersey. He is always going to be on that top unit. He is always going to be on that top power play. And let's just be honest. Do you really think that he's not going to be a point per game player?
No. But again, that's why I am saying I do not want to forgive Jack Hughes. in 4 out of 5 of his last 5 seasons, like he's missed at least 20 games. So a lot of you who probably drafted him right at that turn, that first round turn to the second round, that's tough to lose for the last like quarter of the season. And I get it that in the past, yeah, we used to joke about how like, yeah, McKinnon, Rantanen, you draft them, but you know they're going to miss like 15, 20 games. And I know you can't let that hold you back, but this is, I don't know, if I'm on that turn, like in a 12 team, like 10, 11, 12, he's a guy I might fade in terms of other guys, like grab like a Matty Tkachuk or an Eichel if I'm like 10, 11 and he's fallen that far, or Rantanen if he falls that far. I feel like there are other players I would take in his place at like that first round turn.
It would have to be one of those, exercises where you would have to name a player. Like, don't get me wrong. If you said, would you take Eichel or Jack Hughes? I'm taking Eichel. Like,
there we go. Yeah, those are the kind of guys where I would take in place
Jeez.
of Jack Hughes.
I'm
not saying he isn't a point per game guy or just great. It's just that injury risk is too rich for me. When everyone's already scooped up like McDavid, Kucherov, Draisaitl, like the great guys. Yeah. Even Caffeine coming here. Yeah, Kaprizov over Jack Hughes. And he's the guy I would say, yeah, I had in my notes here. I would take I give Kaprizov a pass on missing like half the season last year. Like that just seems like a freak injury instead of like anything we need to keep in mind when we draft him.
And I love Kaprizov too. So I mean that would I think that's almost kind of a toss up for me. But I will say this: Kaprizov, I think, has a higher point potential for sure. But I do think that a big part of that is the pieces that are around him. I think that Minnesota is a vastly better team than New Jersey is. Vastly better. And don't get me wrong, everybody, and TJ is always says this about how they're just boring. I love Minnesota. I love watching Minnesota. Like, he thinks they're boring.
They're predictable.
I love watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, they predictably, score more goals than the teams that they're playing.
Exactly. And that's right. While we're talking about Mini, I think Caffeine Ketamine, was it? Do we forgive Faber? Brock Faber. I think in the Vibe show, you guys mentioned TJ mentioned oh my god,
Rossi.
What's his name? Something Boyum or whatever that they may have coming up that run that power play. Do you remember? No. It sounded like there was someone in the pipeline.
Is the guy. Here, give me 1 second here.
But no, I would say with the expectation so low on Faber, you could probably get him late if you if
you're talking about Zeev?
Yeah, Zeev Boyum or however you say it.
I think it's Boyum. Well, what he was saying was there's no automatic. TJ loves a automatic power play, quarterback, and I don't blame him. And what he was saying was Minnesota doesn't exactly have one. Now, would I put, I would probably put Faber there, but that's just me. In years past, it was Spurgeon, but I think those days are over. So he was putting Z-Boy in there.
Yeah, and that was something I think they tried for one game in the playoffs. So I was like, okay, yeah, he was someone to keep an eye on there. But yeah,
it worked pretty well that one game.
And I kind of thought that Florida was another team where it's like, maybe their defenseman doesn't touch the puck as much, but Seth Jones, wow, like that was kind of what they needed to kind of get into the weeds here. Yeah, Faber had it and just did dick all. And I know sometimes we talk about teams that just their defenseman isn't as involved on the power play, but I wonder if they got a true power play quarterback, if he'd factor in more.
You know what? You would think that it would have to. Don't get me wrong. You would think that it would have to. but at the same time, there's so much about team defense where, you know, it's like which is TJ's thing about why Marco Rossi starting getting less time, because he's all about the offense and wasn't playing as much defense as obviously Minnesota wanted him to play, because they're all about the 200-foot game. So, you know, I would put Faber there, but, you know, we'll have to see what they do. Still, I like Minnesota. And I definitely forgive Kaprizov. Definitely.
But yeah, another one of probably my player that I am not forgiving coming into the season, UC Saros, without a doubt. That team did nothing major to improve their environment in front of him, and now we got health concerns with Roman Yossi, and then we have Justice Anunin, who came in one of the trades Colorado did for goalies. He showed last year he could be kind of serviceable. So he could steal the net, some of that net share. But yeah, dude's coming off his worst season ever. I would like to think this is a fluke, but I'm just not. I don't see the recipe for bounce back. Like his goals saved above average was down to minus 6.8 from 5.7 like the last year, and then 30.5 the year before. I'm gonna do a little Homer rant for a second, but I really think Ryan McDonough had like just a completely unspoken, didn't show up on the score sheet effect on that decor that made Saros look better than what he did. And Saros even faced fewer shots at 5-on-5 than he did last year, but still finished below a 900 save percentage. Like Nashville as a whole is someone that I'm not spending a lot of capital on.
Agreed. They're looking old, right?
Oh yeah,
they're looking old as a team, and my best wishes go out to Roman Yossi, because he's a fucking Hall of Famer, like flat out.
Good God, Ryan O'Reilly and Stamkos should not be your 1C, either one of them.
That's what I'm saying. That's your 1 and your 2C. Jesus, that's a problem. And then they paid Michael Bunting, and the only reason he got that money was because he was playing, on the Superman line up in Toronto, which made him look like he belonged. And now he's their, 2 or, second line or third line winger. In all honesty, the defense there is just awful. Apart from Brady Shea, without Roman Yossi out there, I'm putting Brady Shea as their best defenseman. And as much as I like Brady Shea, I don't know if that should be the case. However, I'm almost inclined to say that I would forgive Saros, not in the fact that I think that he's going to have a better year this year, numbers-wise, but more because I don't think it's your fault, UC Saros. Like, I would forgive you for that, because honestly, I don't think that it's your fault. This is his first year where he's been sub 900 for a save percentage. He still wasn't even over 3 goals against average.
Yeah.
He's still under that, but the last 2 years where it's been obvious, where they're just kind of, it's like they're just throwing half-cooked noodles of spaghetti on the against the wall and looking for something to stick, and you got to cook the damn spaghetti in order for it to be done.
And that was what sucked, is we thought they won the offseason going into last year, and then it was just like, oh no, they didn't sign like the right things at all, and now it's just they got to cook with what they have, and it's not a great recipe.
Again, being like a Philly person, this is football instead, but there was years ago where the Philadelphia Eagles had, quote unquote, like a dream team where they made all of these big splashy signings, and on paper they looked like they were going to be awesome. And then they were just awful, because those players all together, even though on paper they look great, did not mesh, could not play together. And that's what it seemed like for Nashville last year. And it seems like they're trying to do the same thing again. without, without putting the work in.
No. Yeah, same
So
coach. It's pretty much same
no,
roster.
I think that he's still draftable in the fact that he's still going to get a ton of starts. I think that he is going to be the much better goalie between him and a Noonan. I don't think that a Noonan's really going to be challenging him for starts. Do you?
Not for a long stretch, but it could just be like, all right, this is 5-10 bad games in a row. Like we reset, come back, try again. Kind of like how Bobrovsky tends to lose the net for a little stretch here and there.
And then he comes out and wins the cup.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Twice in a row. No biggie.
He's going to get Spencer Knighted.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, and there we go. So another forgive me not. This is, I don't know. Not even sure this guy really needs to be said at all, but Vladimir Tarasenko got traded to Minnesota for just nothing. Any name value like that any of us might still have if we're long enough to remember his Blues, or if we've been around long enough to remember his Blues days. Like it's
awesome
not there. That name value.
Awesome
yeah. Well, then that's what's crazy. It was like there was only one game or one season where he was actually point per game. And then he got traded. But yeah, it just keep moving. If you think there's any name value there at all, like just abysmal with Detroit last season, 11 goals, 33 points on 80 games. I don't see him as anything other than like line 3 power play 2 to start the season. I don't know. Anything there, Zach, or
he
you also like just
he will have played on 5 teams in 4 years. That's a crazy stat. 5 teams in 4 years. That is nuts. And in all honesty, I'm kind of out on Tarasenko.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Even as a streamer, I'm just like, no, I'm okay. I'll pick another team.
Well, actually, I guess this will be 6 teams in 5 years now, right?
Right, St. Louis, Rangers, Detroit.
Did I miss one?
No. Mini, yeah, 4 teams. I don't think I missed the trade there.
In all honesty, yeah, no, I am. I'm out on Tarasenko. I kind of wish that Daily Faceoff has Tarasenko on the second line, which, man, I hope that doesn't happen because honestly, I think that should be Ryan Hartman's spot.
That's right. There we go. That's what it was. Kevin in chat. Yeah, he got drafted or not drafted, traded at deadline to Florida. That's the 15.
Yeah. But yeah, so because I love me some Ryan Hartman, especially as a daily stream. Man, I like Ryan Hartman, especially on being on that second line. He has always proved himself. But yeah, I don't see Tarasenko, especially because they have him playing with Marco Rossi and Matt Boldy. So do you think that 2 young players like Boldy and Rossi are going to play well with Tarasenko?
And that's what isn't Boldy? Aren't they still figuring out his contract? Was it Boldy or Rossi that needs a new contract and they still haven't signed him?
I believe it's Boldy, but there's no way they don't get that done, don't you think?
I don't know, man. I mean, we've seen it before where guys hold out. I mean, we were just talking about Swayman. He could hold. I don't know what he's holding out for.
If they don't want Boldy, then I would love the Flyers to sign him. I'll give him money.
Right, and I think he's just RFA, so he has to do something. But is it a trade or does he just hold out for? I don't know if he's holding out for money or holding out to get traded, but he's holding out for something. Yeah, there we go.
The only thing that if anything, I know that I could see them trading Rossi before they trade Boldy, just because Rossi doesn't super fit in with their system, as I kind of talked about earlier.
Right. And then I'd like this one as a forgive not. We'll go with Chris Kreider there, Zach, if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chris Kreider. I've loved having Chris Kreider on my team in years past, but that's because that man goes out there and scores fucking goals, dude. Like, we all know it. Let's see. The prior seasons before this last season, where, hey, don't get me wrong, he still had 22 goals, but 39 goals, 36 goals, 52 goals. You remember that crazy year where Chris Kreider scored 52 goals? It was nuts. You know whose team he was on? Mine. So I've always been a Chris Kreider lover. That kind of sounds dirty when you say it like that. But he is on the Ducks now. That changes everything. Can we all agree on that? That just changes everything. He's going to be on the top power play, yeah. I would imagine. He's going to be on the top line, I would imagine. I don't think that makes a difference. Do you?
No, not at all. Because what's he got around him? And how old is this guy again? Well on the wrong side of 30. Well on the wrong side of 30. 34 in for sports.
Hell, I don't even think that he should be on the top line. I think they probably will have him, but I think that Cutter Gauthier should be on the top line. I like Cutter Gauthier. But I don't even really think that he should be on the top line, but he'll probably be on the top power play. For sure. But I don't think it matters. I don't. What I have down here is his biggest problem last year was the fact that, he didn't have the assists that he usually gets. Don't get me wrong, he's always going to have more goals than he has assists, but he only had 8 assists last year in 68 games. Not very many. Who is he going to be getting those assists from now? I don't really foresee the Ducks being some sort of offensive powerhouse by any means.
God, no. Even with Quenneville, I mean, you could say new coach, you give it like 10, 15 games to really get him going, but I just don't think, and I think I had this in like one of the other summer shows in the notes, is like, I just don't think he has enough in the tank and enough around him to get back to those like 60-ish, 70-point seasons.
Yeah, I really don't. I just don't see it. Those years where he was, kicking ass and taking names in New York, well, that's because he had some really good players around him. He was playing with Zibanejad and, players like that. So without that, there is no Zibanejad in Anaheim. There's not.
No. Not even close.
No. Now, do they have really good young players that could become something fantastic one day? Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I like their young players. Like I said, I'm a fan of Cutter Gauthier. I'm a fan of Leo Carlson. But they don't have them now. That's for sure. Supposedly Mason McTavish and, Leo Carlson are really
the guys
enjoying
of the future.
Playing together and stuff like that. Yes, the guys of the future, but hell, I don't even see Mason McTavish as that guy. But that's just me.
No. But yeah, I'd say that's enough for Kreider. Let's move on to another Forgive Me Not. Timo Meier. As much as you guys probably don't want to hear it, like I feel like Timo time ended seasons ago. It's time to move on. Like he played more games last season than the season before and somehow finished on a worse point pace. He's still getting less than half the power play share, which I feel like is his biggest bottleneck in production. Like if somehow he found himself on that top power play consistently, that would change everything here. And yeah, he finished with more hits and blocks, but I don't know, not enough to say that bang value is still there. Like we used to think of a Vander Kane of old, like a 60-point guy that just hit everything in sight. And that could
do it all.
Win you your weeks.
Everything. I mean, don't get me wrong. He still hits.
Oh no, yeah, he does. It's just I would say like he got more hits and blocks than last year with fewer games, but it's not enough to say like yes, like that bang value is still there at least.
I honestly I'm upset that it didn't work for Timo Meier in New Jersey. I really thought that when he went there, like it was going to be all systems go for the Devils. You know what I mean? Because I thought that they were starting to make really good moves, mainly always, on the offensive side, and I always said, hey, their big problem always was the goalie. And then they went out and got Jacob Markstrom. And I was like, oh, well, that's the final piece to the puzzle, right? I really thought that. I was like, oh man, now that they have Markstrom, man, ignite the engines and let's take this.
Right. And now if they're talking about trading Dougie, like that's probably almost a step backwards. Like I'm not sure Luke Hughes is ready to assume that 1D duty.
Do you almost think that they're doing that to pacify my boy Jack Hughes?
Probably.
Like in all
but
honesty.
You know, because they're going to trade for Quinn Hughes in the deadline or in the summer eventually.
Yeah, they want to. Oh
they
man,
collect them
Roger's
all.
Gonna be so pissed off. Yeah, that's what I said. They're like fucking like it's like they think that the Hughes brothers are friggin' Pokemon.
Catch them all.
But the whole thing, okay. So, but okay,
all right.
And I actually, because I want to hear what you think about this, Alan. I brought this point to Raj. Don't get me wrong. If they trade for Quinn Hughes, that would be fantastic for Jersey. In the fact that they would have, they would have the two. Well, they would have all three Hughes brothers, two really good ones, and then Luke Hughes. But what are they going to have to get? What are they going to have to give to get him?
Right. Well, and that's why I see Dougie going the other way. Shoot, what if they give him Timo and Dougie for Quinn Hughes?
I mean, that would.
I just made that up.
Scenario. That would be a perfect scenario for New Jersey, but I think they're going to have to give more.
Yeah, you think more players, picks, prospects?
I think it would be a mix. I think it would definitely. I think it would definitely be some It would be some automatic players. I would like the idea of Dougie and Timo, but I think that they would want younger players. I think that they would want like a Dawson Mercer or even like a Jesper Bratt. I could see them wanting Jesper Bratt. I would if I was Vancouver, but that's just me.
Right. And so they had the capital, but it's like, I don't know. Is that the trade that really makes them a true cup contender, not a playoff contender? I don't know.
But
I feel like you might.
I feel like the ask would be way too big because if I was Vancouver, not only would I want those players, but I'd want to pick too. At least one.
Yeah, I feel like this is. I mean, of course, we thought the same thing about Rantanen. Is just sort of like, there's no way he gets moved, no way he gets traded, and then it was like someone found a price, and there it went. Twice in the same season. Yeah, I don't know if the cost to acquire Quinn Hughes is worth what you might have to give up. I don't think it makes you. It's like when the Sharks traded Erik Karlsson, you thought like, oh man, Burns and Karlsson, this is going to be awesome, and it really wasn't. I don't think the price is worth the price of admission.
Well, as far as that, the bottom was going to fall out on that Burns Karlsson thing at some point in time on each of them. It was going to fall out at some point in time, and it did. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, and then this last guy, which is kind of interesting. We found out right before the show started he hasn't actually signed anywhere yet. But as a lighthouse, we're telling you to stay away. Georgiev. Let's talk about Alex Georgiev.
I don't forgive him, and I never even thought about not forgiving him. I didn't even forgive him when he was on Colorado, because really I likened it to that was makeup. Colorado was the makeup. You know what I mean? It made him look good, but his numbers were never good. So even this past year when he was on a crappy team like San Jose, don't get me wrong, his goals against average definitely went up. His losses compared to wins went way up. He had way more losses. But let's be honest, his save percentage and his numbers were still the same. So it just shows you, he was still the same goalie. But when you don't have a team that can, just hide you, that can hide you behind a higher score, then that's what shows. So, wherever Georgiev does show up this year, which I think you would think that he would get signed, but maybe he won't. I just don't. I don't forgive him. Never did. So
yeah. And we saw it with Kemper, we saw it with Grubauer. Like Colorado made those guys look better than maybe they actually were, and now other people. Well, Kemper on LA has been all right. I mean, we'll see what this happens this season.
Yeah, I was going to call you out on that one. I'm not going to lie. When you said Kemper, I was going to call you out on that one. I was going to be like, whoa, now.
No, yeah, no. I'm saying like those guys have not quite panned out as well as you would have thought. But no, Colorado could just outscore whatever problems they had. Like what? Wasn't the Colorado won? I think Kemper was their goalie. They won against Tampa, but like he was partially blind in one eye or something crazy. Like they didn't even need a goalie with two functioning eyes to drag their way to winning the cup.
Jesus. I mean, that's one hell of a way to put it. But now they have the New Jersey team.
Blackwood,
of Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood.
Which is insane. That's been just like a huge rags to riches story for Blackwood. Because I remember when he was in New Jersey and he was supposed to be their number one, and just I think he had like long COVID or something. Something happened, set him back, and then he was viewed as not that guy.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've never really thought that Blackwood was a great goalie. I know that his save percentage can say otherwise from time to time. But I just personally never saw it. Now, is he going to win a lot of games this year? If he's the goalie for Colorado, you would have to think so. But let's be honest, it's not like Colorado has the best defense. They're giving up a decent amount of shots, man. They just are. So he's going to get shots his way. Like, that's for sure.
Well, and that's even when he was started out the season on the Sharks, like he was decent, like for what was in front of him. So it was just like he just got made that much better by having Colorado in front of him. But yeah, I don't know if bringing in Burns or I forget who else is on that lineup now past Makar.
So they still have Devin Tays, obviously Makar, Sam Girard, who I love. Sam Girard. They did get Brent Burns, which don't get me wrong, as much as
but there's no way they play him as in their top four.
No. Like, well, I mean, honestly, I think maybe they should. I'm not a big Josh Manson guy, but Brent Burns can still play defense. He's not out there taking 10 shots a game like he used to, which was craziness, but he can still play defense.
Yeah. So we got Daily Faceoff has Taze Makar, Gerard Manson, Malinsky, Burns as their decor. Yeah, I would say yeah. Blackwood should have another pretty good season.
The problem I think with Colorado though is they just don't have the firepower that they used to have. They just don't. Don't get me wrong. Marty Necas is going to be an automatic. Like if you have McKinnon, I would reach for Marty Necas so that I could stack those points. I'm not going to lie. But anyone after that, who are you really excited about?
I don't know. It depends on. I mean, if Brock Nelson has top power play, Nichushkin as a. Nichushkin's pretty solid, 60-ish point guy?
You just said fucking Brock Nelson, Alan.
What? Because he's probably Nelson a lock as their 2C.
Yeah. Because he's definitely better than Jack Drury, Parker Kelly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, sometimes those guys play 2C in Carolina, Anyone can be 2C in Carolina.
That's true. I'm here.
All right. I think that's it, man. We're getting out of here at a reasonable time. Anything else before we close it out?
No, I think it was a fun one. I will say I really wish that we didn't end with the bad taste of Brock Nelson in my mouth, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, was it Jackson Blake just got that nice big contract? I'm sure he'll be 2C for Carolina at some point. That's something.
Yeah. Jackson Blake. That's what they were saving all that.
Craziness. But yeah, that's gonna go ahead and wrap it, guys. Thanks for tuning in, watching live, wherever you're listening. Good night, good hockey, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Love yous.
Adios, turd nuggets.